Okay.
I'm going over here.
Now we have to talk.
Go that way.
All right. Okay, I can do this. All right. We hear y'all have been talking about money this month. So we're excited to join the conversation. When I was a kid, my beliefs about money were pretty much what society told me, right? So money's like this necessary evil. I mean, it's good, you have to use it for things, but it can be a corrupting influence. That's what I thought. Then in my 20s, I discovered metaphysics, right? And I learned some really cool stuff, like my consciousness is creative. So if I see money as a corrupting influence, then it's going to show up that way in my life. If I see money as a healing, loving substance, it's going to show up like that in my life, right? Cool stuff. And money has a secret that I think probably a lot of you in this room know, but we're going to talk about that today. So about a decade ago, Melissa and I discovered this book called Money Magic by Michelle Masters. Marvelous, right? So all this stuff we're talking about is in a handout you can get at the end. So Money Magic, Michelle Masters. So Michelle Masters is a practitioner of two things. The first is neuro-linguistic programming, also called NLP, right? Makes changes in the brain to affect behavior. The second thing she's an expert in is this totally groovy woo-woo stuff called family constellation work that makes changes in the energy field of the family that then affects the family for generations and beyond. Really cool stuff. So Michelle is using these two modalities to do a lot of healing for a lot of folks, including in their relationship with money. And as she's doing this work, she discovered something really fascinating about money, which was that the pure energy of money is not a neutral substance. That the pure energy of money is supportive, nurturing, and available. It is the energy of blessings. Now, when Melissa and I heard this, we said, dude, that's cool, right? And we want to know that on a deeper way. We want to embody that in a deeper way. And so we're going to share with you today how we did that and how you can do it as well. Yeah.
So the story begins. We were in ministerial school. We were in ministerial school together, which is kind of wild and cool. So there we are, and we're listening to, in ministerial school, part of what we experienced was a lot of classes about how to do various aspects of ministry, like this kind of ministry. This is the kind of ministry people know, right? The pulpit, a church. And so we kept taking all these classes, and we kept having the same experience where we would leave class and look at each other and say, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Over and over. Sometimes it would be halfway through the class, we'd kind of look at each other and we'd go, like, shake it off. I don't want to do that, right? So we just had no idea what ministry was going to look like for us, but we had been called, and we had, like a lot of ministers, been kicking and screaming for years before we caved in to Spirit's call and went. So we knew we were supposed to be there. We were in the right place, but we did not have any idea why we were there. Sound familiar? Okay. So one point, about halfway through the training for me, I sat in the office of my dean, and at the time, the Centers for Spiritual Living dean in this region was Reverend Dr. Kim Kaiser, who is a Science Mind minister, like us all, and he is also a Buddhist monk. I do not mean that metaphorically, like he's so cool and chill. He's like a Buddhist monk. I mean, he was a Buddhist monk before he became a CSL minister, right? He is chill. And not directive, like with his students, he's not going to tell us where to go or what to do. That's like he's a Buddhist monk, right? He's going to meditate on it with us. So I'm sitting in his office, and he says, so what are you two thinking, you're going to do with ministry? And I said, well, I don't really know. I just know it's not going to look like that typical thing that we keep being trained on, that we keep saying, not this. That's all we know. And so I'm imagining what we're thinking at this point with the information we have so far is that we're just going to stay here where we are, which was in Santa Rosa. And we're going to stay at the center where we've been going and continue to provide music sometimes and message sometimes and some other things I don't even know. But we're just going to stick around here and, contribute. And he was like, no, you're not. I was like, what? He doesn't talk like this, right? He said that's just not what I see for you at all. And I was shocked because, he's a Buddhist monk. And he's talking to me in this very directive kind of way. And I said, well, okay, so what do you see for us, And so I have to say, years later when I told him he said this to us, he has no memory of this. None. And it's so unlike him. And he shut his eyes, and I could imagine that his eyes were rolling back in his head. And he said, what I see for you is I see you creating a television ministry or an online thing, maybe it is, or something where it's virtually reaching out to people. And then at some point you start traveling and you take your message out and you travel around the world, and then you do the online or television thing, and then you go out in the world and you have this two things, online and traveling or television and traveling thing. And oh my God, I got so excited. I was so excited, and I came running home to my wife, who I actually call Z my wife-band.
Because whole lot of gender going on.
So I go home to my wife-band, and I say, baby, Dr. Kim told me what we're going to be doing. It sounds so cool. And I told Z all about it, and they said,
no.
They actually said, I will never do that.
Yeah, I said I will never do that because I don't take something on until I'm ready to start it yesterday, right? I'm not going to say no. And at that point, there was no road forward to do any of that. So I'm just Then, a couple years pass. We're about to graduate from ministerial school. I'm home alone. Melissa was off at a retreat. And so I'm in my own energy. And I was meditating one day, and I get this amazing download from Spirit. So check it out. I get this download from Spirit saying that what our ministry was going to be. So we're going to do this stuff online, right? Really cool. Video. I got video stuff, and then we're going to put stuff online, and then we're going to go out in the world and travel and stuff, which is going to support the online. Isn't that cool, right? I'm like, wow, I'm having this amazing idea. And so Melissa comes home, and I tell her about my idea of what we're going to do. And she said, yeah.
That's exactly what Dr. Kim said years ago. Z had no memory of that previous channeling thing. Z and Kim both completely forgot it.
Maybe it happened. I don't know.
So we started doing this. We started by creating videos, and we each have a blog, and Z does cartoons, and we started putting things online and freaking out. Because how in the world is this going to be a financial thing that supports the Oh My God Life? That's the name of our ministry, Oh My God Life. How is that going to be? How is this in the world of church? Or whatever you want to call it, how is this a sustainable, viable, functioning entity? Yeah. So what we were doing at the time were 6 practices. We beefed them all up because we were terrified. Honestly, that's why. So we had 6 practices, and we still do these 6 practices. We highly recommend any and all of these 6 practices. And again, these notes, the 6 practices, are on a handout that you will be given as you exit today. We have this little handout. Don't leave church without it. So the number one thing that we say is the number one thing for anything is meditation. Meditation, meditation, meditation. And in particular, in this case, the cornerstone of being receptive to source, the substance of all supply. So meditating, number one, and specifically in this case, being receptive to that all-supplying source.
Number 1, meditation. Number 2, prayer. Here at CSA, we teach a unique form of prayer, the 5-step treatment. It's incredible. We do it every day. And so what we did and continue to do is allow the abundance portion, the allowing, letting in abundance. We beefed up that part of our daily 5-step treatment.
Yep, that's number 2. Number 3 is gratitude. So giving gratitude for what we already have. And Z, when we met, we each had a gratitude practice already. And then through the years, we ended up like morphing it into this whole other 3-point practice that we do called the Oh My God practice. And we wrote a book about it.
This is our COVID baby.
The
Our
Oh My
little
God
book.
practice. So that's gratitude, and in particular, in this case, we beefed up our gratitude in advance of the good and the abundance and the plenty of supply for Oh My God life. That was part of our practice, so that's 3.
Number 4, study. There are a lot of amazing books about prosperity, some of them on the card. And we continue to read because there's always more to learn, right? There's always more to learn. So just purely intellectually taking in new concepts and ideas about prosperity has made a huge difference for us and continues to do so.
And 5, not in order necessarily, but tithing. So 5 is tithing, and we're talking about, you've heard this probably, time, treasure, talent. Time, talent, treasure. Not in any particular order, evidently. So we tithe our time and our talent through Oh My God into all of these things we put out for free online. And then we tithe financially to where we are spiritually fed. That is the practice that you heard our beautiful people talk about today, giving where you are spiritually fed, which always gives back. So that's 5, is tithing.
And last but not least, affirmation. So there was a wonderful affirmation I was given years ago. A lot of money is flowing to me now. I deserve it, and I use it for my good and the good of others. So I say that one every day, and there's several other affirmations I use that we share with you. So those are the 6 practices. If you are doing none of those right now, we highly recommend you do one. If you're doing 1 or 2 of them, we highly recommend you add at least another one. And if you're doing all 6 right now and would like to expand your experience of abundance in your life, you can use any and all of those practices to amp up your experience and expression of abundance.
Yep. So here we are. We're doing our 6 things ongoingly, trying not to freak out about money. Honestly, that's kind of where we were at. You know, I'm just being real. And then what started happening is, Oh My God started evolving. We started getting gigs. We started traveling, the online and traveling piece, right? We started traveling, and the model that was happening that was workable is we would travel to these different places in the country, and when we were there, we would stay with people in their house, which is really great if you're an extrovert. Right? You can just hang out. People want to chat all the time. But we're not extroverts. So it was not working for us. It was really exhausting to like finish a gig, which for us is like the pinnacle joy of what we do, but also thoroughly, completely exhausting for us. And then to go and have to, in order to be nice or polite or even just not horrible, talk to the hosts who are keeping you at their house, right? It wasn't working. Okay, during this time, completely unknowingly connected, because that's how things work, right? I just found myself vastly intrigued by videos about van conversions. Tiny houses, van conversions, there's people are doing amazing things. And then living full time sometimes in their vehicle. I was just obsessed. So much so, on our day off, I would spend hours and hours watching all these videos. It was so intense that Z coined a name for it.
Yeah, so I would hear this certain quality of silence coming from Melissa's office. I'd say, baby, did you go down the van porn rabbit hole again? Did you?
Absolutely. Van porn is the best. G-rated even. In this time of hundreds and hundreds of hours of watching all these different van conversions, I found the fantasy van. Like, that's what I thought of it as. That's what I called it. The fantasy van was so beautiful and so perfect. Like, the layout, everything was just right for what we needed. That's what I thought. And it was a fantasy. I didn't have any fantasy in my mind that we would ever be able to have one, because it was like way ridiculously.
Yeah. Melissa showed it to me, and I'd take a look at it and see the price tag, and I was thinking, like, we could never afford that. But I got, like, don't say that out loud, because the pure energy of money is supportive, nurturing, and available. Yeah, it is. So I'm like, I'm not going to say that out loud, right? I'm not going to commit to that. Why? Why do that? Yeah. So meanwhile, we're continuing to do our thing, and it's continuing to not go very well. And we came home from one particular tour, and we just were so fried, and we got sick. We got really sick. We're like lying in bed for 2 weeks sick, right? And so at this point I say, Spirit, all-knowing, infinite one, like, what were you thinking? Putting 2 introverts on the road, like, supposedly you're all-knowing and infinite, but I'm not so sure right now, right? Like, I guess. But here's the thing. I joke now. It was really scary, because we're like, we're doing it. We both got this vision. We're doing it. We're doing what you said, and this is not working. So, like, what? So we were actually kind of scared and didn't actually see any way forward.
Yeah. So the last day of being sick, the first day out in the world, I was driving home, and there's this app called Voxer, and on Voxer you can do 15-minute messages, and I was using Voxer to communicate with a friend out of the country. And I went into kind of a rage while I was Voxering them. This is a minister, so I knew they could hear me, and I was saying, I am done. I am not doing this like this anymore. And from your ears to Spirit's heart, I am telling you both right now, I am not doing this anymore. It is not sustainable. It's not working. It is terrible. It really sucks for us. No. So Spirit, since Spirit had this great idea for our ministry, then maybe Spirit has some solution, because there's got to be a solution or I'm done.
I'm thinking we should maybe add ranting to the list. Like, that could be number 7. Yeah. So while Melissa's out doing step 7, very good job of it, I'm home and I can finally sit up in bed, and I get out my laptop, and I just had an inspiration to go check out trailers, like travel trailers, like that you can pull with a car. And I found this travel trailer that was like kind of affordable, and it looked really cool, and it was really light, so we could actually pull it with our car. So Melissa comes home, and I show her what I found.
Baby, come here, and shows me this image, and it's like, oh, well, I could do that. I could live in that. It's small. I could do that. I could do that. And then I see the price tag, and I realize it is the exact amount of money that a year before I inherited when my mother passed away. I'm like, my mother, who loved our ministry, is buying us a trailer so we can keep going.
So now it's like, okay, now it's clear. All right, Spirit, we thought there was no way. Now there's a way. Awesome. We share this with other people, and a bunch of people were like, yeah, you know, you might want to rethink that because y'all like have never done anything like this before. That's a trailer. You're going into cities. You got to back that thing up. Like, I don't know about this for you. And we tried that on, and we realized, oh yeah, they're kind of right about that. So then we were back to like, okay, still we don't know what we're doing, and we don't have an answer.
So this story we're telling you is literally like point for point exactly how it happened, right? And right at that moment in this timeline, we got this completely shocking, completely random phone call from a big donor who said,
The big donor said, we would like to give a donation to Oh My God Live, a 6-figure donation to Oh My God Live. Now, I know what 6 figures are, but when I hear this, I literally couldn't compute like how many 6 figures were in relationship to us receiving them, right? So I'm like, what? Well, I'll tell you how much 6 figures are. It was enough for us to start researching other options, including all-in-one vehicles, because an all-in-one vehicle we can drive, right? It's much more drivable. And so I'm like the research brain, right? So I go and I do my research. So I'm trying to find 2 things in one vehicle, very hard to find. Melissa will be that. So there in the Venn diagram, there's one side we need it to be drivable and small enough. We don't want a big Class A thing, right? It has to be maneuverable, workable for us. But then on the other side, we need enough external storage because we have a lot of stuff, right? So including product and things like that. So we have to be able to do both those things. So I do my research, weeks and weeks. I finally find that there is just one vehicle that fulfills both of those things.
and guess what? It was my fantasy van. I mean, that company made 5 different layouts of this van, and the layout that I liked the best was the one with the most external storage. It was exactly my fantasy van, which is that van right there.
It's right out there.
That silver van.
Our little van. It was also the exact amount we were given unexpectedly from a big donor.
We got it in March of 2021 and named her, very aptly, PJ Freedom. PJ stands for peace and joy. And that is exactly what she brings us. Not only a sustainable ministry, but peace, joy, and freedom along the way. And she allows us little introverts to do our extroverted work in the world.
And every time we're in that van, it's like answered prayer to me. Anytime I start to doubt, I'm just in that van and I'm like, okay, Spirit is so much smarter than I am, right? So because we were able to receive in a bigger way, we can give in a bigger way. And here's the thing. We all know, I know, you know in this room, that society tells us a lot of lies about money and abundance, right? A lot of lies in terms of who is deserving of abundance and who is not. And it is incumbent upon all of us to do what we can to dismantle those external structures that tell us those lies, right? And we can also dismantle those structures from within because these principles are available to all. All of us can open to a greater sense of prosperity and abundance. And as we do so, not only do our own lives get better, but we share that abundance with others to create a more fair and just society. A lot of money is flowing to us now. We deserve it. We deserve it. And we can use it for our good and the good of others. Amen.
Indeed. So I invite you to close your eyes and take a deep breath. And releasing that breath and then continuing to breathe deep, full breaths, become aware of how you are being given exactly what you need with every inhale and every exhale. Just before your inhale, what you need most is oxygen, and it is given. And then, as you are filled up with breath, what you need most is to release carbon dioxide, and it is done. Releasing carbon dioxide that the plants take and turn into oxygen. You are receiving the blessings and giving back blessings to the universe. Every breath. As you are breathing, your heart is also pumping. With each beat of your heart, my notes are jumping. With each beat of your heart, your organs and muscles are being given the oxygen they need. Every beat of your heart, every inhale, every exhale is the universe supporting you with blessings. And you giving back blessings to the universe. Every breath, every beat of your heart. You are always being supported by life. Life is always blessing and supporting you. Now allow this awareness of life supporting you to include money. Money is simply one of the many ways life is loving you. Breathe this in. Money is loving you. Life as money is loving you. A lot of money is flowing to you now, just like oxygen. It is always flowing to you. It is supportive, nurturing, and available always. You deserve it. If there is any part of you that questions your deservingness, I invite your higher self to release it into the nothingness from which it came, with love all around and through it. For any idea that you are not worthy is an illusion. You are made of the divine. You are star stuff. You are a miracle. So, of course, you are worthy and deserving of all good, including money. And you use this money for your good and the good of others. Just like your exhale, which nourishes life, so your circulation and generosity bless and uplift others. You are the energy. You are the energy of blessings. Receiving blessings, giving blessings, receiving blessings, giving blessings. Repeat after me. A lot of money is flowing to me now.
A lot of money is flowing to me now.
I deserve it.
I deserve it.
And I use it for my good.
And I use it for my good.
And the good of others.
And the good of others.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Beautiful.